Okay, we are live. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to YouTube Live. It is Wednesday. It is July 17. It is hot. It is hot out there. So we're staying in, we're staying cool, and we got a little time. So we thought we'd jump on the web and share what I believe is a very important program. I want to talk about little money and big money. And the bottom line of the program is the idea that I believe if you are not good at managing little money, you will never really even have the opportunity to manage big money. If you're not good at managing little money, you'll never really have the opportunity to manage little money. Well, let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about what I mean. Let's talk about what I hope to share with this program that I hope will be valuable for anyone and everyone who is watching. I don't think it is possible for us to agree on what is big money, because I think big money is different for many people. For there are people out there for whom big money might be couple of $100 a week. And I respect and understand that. There are other people for whom big money is tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or throwing a seventh digit on and moving into the millions. Big money is hard to pin down because it's relative to the person who is participating in the conversation. I think we can all agree on little money. So I want to focus on little money with the idea that as an individual becomes really good at managing little money, money will get bigger and there will be more opportunities to manage more money over a period of time. So I think we can agree on little money. Little money is change. Little money is singles. Little money is small denominations of money. And I've shared everything I'm going to share here today in one form or another, whether in videos or in programming or everything. But I had a note in my file of videos that I want to do at some point down the road. And little money versus big money was on that list. So what I want to do is I want to cover some little money strategies. We're talking about building savings habits. We're talking about building the management of little money with the eye and the hope to lead to the management of big money. So let's start with change. Get a change jar. And I want you to see this is really my change jar. Now you'll notice it's an M&M Candies promotional jar. And if we turn around and look at the back, it is from the 1984 Los Angeles Olympics. That's my way of letting you know I've had my change jar a long time. Bought this like in 1984 full of M&Ms. I ate the M&Ms a long time ago. And this has been sitting on my dresser in my bedroom a long time. It was on my dresser in my bedroom in my apartment before I got married. It's been on the dresser in the bedroom with my wife as long as we've been married, which is a long time now as well. But it's a change jar. And there's a Hercules action figure, and there's a couple of Chicago Cubs wristbands in my change jar. They live in there permanently. There's a red one, a white one, and a blue one. The blue one is actually on my backpack. It lives there permanently. More cubby blue and appropriate. But the other ones, they live in the jar. And they live in the jar with the money. Where does this money come from? Well, anytime I ever get change throughout the day, it's in my pocket or it's in a pocket of my backpack. And when I get home, it goes in the jar. I've been doing it for years. Now, it's about saving change and the idea that change adds up. When I'm out and about and around, change goes in the cup holder in the car. And it doesn't get spent. Every once in a while, I scoop it out of the cup holder. I put it in my pocket. I bring it in the house and I put it in the jar. And the jar gets filled up. And when the jar gets filled up to about the top of the stars, right about there, I dump it in a Ziploc bag and I take it to the bank. Now, what do I do with it when I take it to the bank? Well, I happen to know that assorted mixed change in this jar, when it's up to about here, is about $40 in assorted dollars. Now, $40 is dinner out. $40 is a couple of tanks of gas. $40 is maybe some nice thing or trinket for myself, but that's not what I do with it. When I take it to the bank and the bank counts it up, it's deposited in the bank. or it's taken out in the form of cash, which is then deposited in my 401k, my savings account. A lot of times I divide the money up. We're going to talk about dividing money up in just a minute, but I divide the money up in a form of savings. But I consider it found money. I found it in the jar. I found it in my cup holder. I found it in my pocket. Now I put it in the jar, I put it in the cup holder, and I put it in my pocket. Yeah, I get that part. But it's little money that does truly add up. And depending on my travels, depending on where I'm at and what I'm doing, I can't tell you how often I empty the jar because I don't do it by time frame. I do it by volume in the jar. But bottom line is it adds up. I think there's no better example of small money turning into big and real money than a change jar. You can get a mason jar. You can get a wine carafe. You can get anything you can use to sit on the counter. And I think smaller is better. I see some people that use a 5-gallon water cooler jug and they've literally like never emptied it. Couple things to think about. Number one, you're not getting any interest. You're not getting any benefit off that money if you're going decades literally without emptying it. Yeah, it's money. Number two, you're not going to be able to move it. This gets heavy when it's full. This thing full to here is probably 5 pounds at that point. I don't even want to think about what a 5-gallon water cooler jug weighs and trying to get it to the bank. And I can't even imagine the look on the face of the girl at the bank when I show up with all of that change to be counted. So I think a reasonable size jar or container makes good sense. And number one, small money starts with the smallest of our money, literally coinage. Number two, in the small money turning into big money conversation, we know from our industry, tip money. Now, not all tip money is small money. There are people out there who, at higher haircut prices, and let's keep in mind that tips sometimes are treated as a percentage of the haircut and are proportional. I think it's fair to assume, and I don't like to make broad sweeping assumptions about these kinds of things in programming, but it's fair to assume that the higher your haircut price, the bigger the tips that you're going to be receiving on those haircuts. It's just a proportional fact. The guy doing $15 haircuts is getting a smaller tip on every haircut than the guy doing $50 haircuts. I just think that that's just an assumption. If I'm wrong, we can talk about it. I might be wrong. I see some comments coming in, and I'm not sure why on my screen I can't see all of them, but Gittle said something. We'll say hello to Gittle. I see Joycelyn's here. Hello to you as well. But tip income. A lot of times in our industry, people have the mindset that this is free money, this is money falling out of the sky, that it's wham, W-A-M, walking around money. It's cigarettes and beer and gas and fast food and all those kinds of things. And I really want to make the point that it is a lot more than that. I've got a video out there on the subject of divvying your tips, and that's what we're going to talk about here. I've done this literally since cosmetology school. It's the idea that on a daily basis, as you're counting, because you're counting your tips, and you're counting because you're recording your tips, and you're recording your tips because you're accounting for and paying tax on all your income, including your tips, you got a pile of it. Small money. Let's talk about it. Number one, don't condense